Fellow Voidgloom adventurer, welcome. If you are here from the tier 2 video, then that means you have finally slayed the beast, and you have mastered the tier 2 Voidgloom. However, it now seems that a new threat has approached you. That threat being the tier 3 Voidgloom. Assuming that you came from that last video, I'm sure that you still have the Wand of Restoration, the Mana Flux Orb, and of course, the Revive Heart with the Shadow Assassin armor set. And of course the Voidwalker you probably turned into a Void Edge by now. However, these will not do. I mean, you could probably still get through with a Mana Flux, but everything else, it will no longer do. Now, although Sim may dare to use the tier 2 set for a tier 3, I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna happen. Look, I even tried doing a tier 3 and Necron armor set with the Reaper Mask, and I'm telling you, it didn't go very well. No, don't! Leave! 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 What is this? It's gonna do a lot more damage to us. Honestly, don't go the Necron strat. If you want to, you're gonna have to get the Overflux. That's already like 100 mil. And you could do tier 3s with a Mana Flux and Final Destination armor. Yeah, with that being said, never use Necron for tier 3. Now, as far as us getting into what are you gonna need for the tier 3 set, the Shadow Assassin and the Revive Heart, they gotta go. It's time to hang up that Shadow Assassin set. You will no longer need it going forward. It will now only be known as a past set that led you to freedom. Now, originally in the tier 2 video, I told you that your requirements for the boss was going to be that you would need Rev Slayer 6 and Sven Slayer 6. However, now that we are doing tier 3s, the story is much different. You see, for this Slayer, I highly recommend that you are now Sven Slayer 7 as well as Rev Slayer 7. You could probably keep Sven Slayer 6 if you're good enough, but honestly, for most players, I feel Sven Slayer 7 will be mandatory as well. Because given that this tier 3 will require a lot more helpful items, it also means that the past items will need to become much stronger. The Wand of Restoration must become the Wand of Atonement. The Revive Heart, not anymore. The Reaper Mask. Now you might be curious, what am I going to be doing with all this extra stuff that I have now? I'm gonna sell it because money is nice. Not to be like Lobby 1, but buy my auction, I guess, of the past things that I really don't need anymore. Because we very much upgraded since then. Editor Anti-Naughty from the future. I'm not saying that I wasn't expecting somebody to buy my overpriced auction, but they did it. And I'm pretty sure you saw this one coming, but instead of the Shadow Assassin set, you will now be using the Final Destination set. As far as the equipment goes, you could still use the same stuff that you were using for the tier 2s that come from the dungeons. That should still be okay. Now, assuming that you've been able to grind the tier 2s all the way to get to level 4 E-Man so that way you can unlock the Final Destination armor, this is where the real grind begins. This is where you immediately want to start grinding kills on your Final Destination armor to 25,000 kills on the armor set. Like, I don't even suggest doing Slayers, I just suggest killing a bunch of E-Man. You could definitely do some E-Man Slayer once your armor is at 10,000 kills, but before that, just keep grinding the kills without a Slayer. Just so that way your mind is just occupied on grinding the kills and making your armor much stronger. Now the Necromancer Sword, you're going to absolutely want to make sure that these tanks are from Master Floor 1 for your Necromancer Sword. At that stage, they actually don't require that much mana to use, and with the amount of health that they have, they will do pretty good during the hits phase of your tier 3. Now as far as the Mana Flux goes, there's a big chance that if you can't survive with the Mana Flux, then you will have to use your Sven Slayer 7 recipe to craft the Overflux. Now this is usually what drives people away from tier 3s. Because say that you don't want to grind to actually drop the main component for the Overflux, then you would have to buy it from the auction, which it could run you pretty expensive. This would go a little bit over 100 mil, which not a lot of people are willing to spend that much money for the Slayer preparation. And if this is you, don't worry. We have the fix so that way you can use the Mana Flux to guarantee that you will live. Now the reason why I say the Overflux is going to be an absolute win, although the Mana Flux does give you 50% base health regen, 2% max hearts per second, and grants you 10% strength, the Overflux on the other hand gives you 100 base mana regen, with 2.5 max hearts healing per second, with an extra 5 vitality and mending, which basically just gives you extra healing, and gives you 25 extra strength. Also, the best part about it, it lasts a whole minute rather than 30 seconds. And given that both orbs takes half your mana in order to deploy, the Overflux absolutely carries, because for a solid minute, you are just getting nothing but buffs, rather than a 30-second orb. That's only giving you a fraction of those buffs. The preparation for this video was kind of a bit hectic, Basically, I was given a new set of Final Destination armor to grind kills on because my main set is actually really OP, that I don't think it would be right to use that set to describe how I'm going to do a tier 3, because I'd have too much of a good lead. So I stayed up one morning actually grinding the kills on it on a fresh new set, and I got it up to 5,000 kills. But then, somebody that I was trying to borrow their set originally with 10,000 kills, they finally woke up. They finally responded to my request if I can borrow their armor for the video. And so the 5,000 kills that I got on that other new set of armor was a complete waste of time. I mean, on the bright side, I did make 24 million coins off of it, so I guess it was worth something. That's when we ran into more issues. You see, after looking at his set, I was able to assess that the 10,000 kills on his armor, it wasn't going to be enough to really get through the tier 3. The main reason why this man was able to clear tier 3s with 10,000 kills on his Final Destination armor is because this man had a God Pot equipped, and also his magic power was much better than mine. And now I'm borrowing this set from another fellow player, and this one has the milestone of above 25,000 kills. It has like around 36, but that really doesn't matter. The fact that it's between 25,000 kills and 50,000 kills, that's the main draw. So you can have like 26,000 kills and it'll be just as effective. Although this ability that gives you plus 30 strength, attack speed, speed overall, intelligence, 200 ferocity, and 100% extra damage against E-Man, it's almost not worth it if you don't at least have a good amount of defense from the Enderman. Now as far as killing the tier 3 with your Final Destination set, this is about the enchantments that you would want to use for it. There's not really a big emphasis to the Harden's Mana, or like Mana Vampire as other sets would have. I would really only suggest having those mana related enchantments if you are actually doing the tier around a lot of other people that are also using a pretty good amount of mana. But we're going into this layer in the hopes that you can actually solo it. So those enchantments really don't matter that much. One thing I do want to draw attention to is the wisdom on every single set of the Final Destination armor. The wisdom is very helpful for this fight. See, right now it shows I have 151 levels of enchanting to actually spend on enchantments. All I really need is 100 for the wisdom ultimate enchants to actually do what they must do. See, once you have 100 enchanting XP, it actually gives you a lot more intelligence. That is what the wisdom does. And honestly, for this fight, it's going to be pretty helpful. Because having a lot of mana going throughout the fight is going to be your move. Because you're going to be using your ability from your sword, from your mana flux, from your Wand of Atonement, and if you get a little bit too low on the health, your Florid Zombie Sword. Now, there is a way for you to actually get through a tier 3 with 10,000 kills on your armor. However, you would need to use a Reaper Mask with 3/4 Final Destination, and that's cool and all, but unfortunately, it just would take very long to actually get the Slayer done. And honestly, to tell you the truth, it just doesn't seem very secure to me. But if it really is the only way that you can get E-Man kills, I kind of suggest it. So that way you can craft the Void Edge Katana into the Vorpal Katana. Now one thing that was actually kind of an issue when we were trying to get the Void Edge to upgrade that into the Vorpal Katana is that I had no refined mithril. Or I didn't really have any enchanted mithril at all, which is kind of what you also need for the Null Edge, but also what you need for the refined mithril itself. But we just didn't have any of those materials. So I may have gathered an organization of people to give me the materials that I needed in order to make today's video happen. Just maybe. We don't want to show that we can just survive the Voidgloom. We want to show that we can absolutely decimate the tier 3 Voidgloom. So with that, we're going to have to put the Reaper Mask away, and we will only settle for using the full Final Destination set. Now as far as pet goes, you can still get away with using your epic E-Man that is around level 60. However, I highly encourage that you get it much higher. Honestly, by the time you get to the 25,000 kills on your armor, it's gonna be much higher. Probably close to like level 70 or 80, hopefully. But for the sake of this video and giving myself just a little bit more of a challenge to prove a point, I'm gonna go level 67. Now you might have remembered where I said that if you're having a little bit more difficulty maintaining your health, then you can use a blue whale pet. Going forward, you absolutely want to ensure that the Enderman pet is your way to go. Because going forward, you're going to want the Enderman pet maxed for tier 4. Or just at a very high level in the 90s. So I don't even want to go the blue whale route this video. You are at the point in the game where you need to grind tens of thousands of kills on your armor to ensure that you will have a good fight. And just like the last time we did some tier 2s, you could still use the Bloody Power Stone for tier 3s. Now originally for the tier 2s, I was trying to bypass using a God Pot for anything. However, this is a tier 3 now. And going forward, you're absolutely going to want the buffs that a God Pot provides. And God Pots really aren't that expensive. You can buy them through auction or you can buy them with bits. And if you're not willing to go the expensive or extreme route of getting the Overflux, God Pots will have to be your route to go. There is no more baby stepping. Although this is the cheapest way to go about it, it's definitely not going to be the easiest. But if you follow my guide, I guarantee you, you will see victory. Also, another thing that would actually be very, very helpful for me to bring up. One talisman that you absolutely want to get as soon as you can is the Pocket Espresso Machine. This will definitely help out with you getting your intelligence up just ever so slightly. You can also get another very, very helpful talisman that's going to help with killing the boss, that being the Handy Blood Chalice. Now, as you can see, both my talismans are off. The main reason why I choose to have them off right now is because I only suggest turning them on in time for the boss fight. Because if you keep on the entire time, they're actually going to consume a lot of mana. And if you're very cheap with getting a lot of mana like I am, then you're not going to have a lot of it. What I would say having a decent amount of soul flow is about 10,000 soul flow. Anything below that, I think you're cheating yourself out of some good damage, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what's going to give you most of your damage. But with all that being said, let's do a tier 3. Now, we're probably going to stay on this floor, because if we go into the way bottom floors, people are just going to try to take our kills. Believe me, I know. The tier 3 Voidgloom awaits us now. Can you, like, piss off? Oh, shit. Wait a minute, we're actually not needing to use the wand. Okay, never mind, I lied. Alright, we use that to get out of there so we ensure that we can heal again. Get that damage back on him. We don't like lag. We do not like lag. As you can see, our mana is still staying up in the thousands, and that's mainly because of the Overflux giving as much mana regen as it does. No, we just gotta go for it. We're taking too much damage, bro. There we go. Although I have shown that yes, it can be done with the Overflux, if you were actually to use our God Pot with the Mana Flux combo, you would not be spending nearly as much money. Overflux would actually cost over 100 million if you actually wanted to buy it instead of actually crafting it. With that money, you can actually buy many, countless God Pots to actually do your tier 3s, to the point where you won't even need the Overflux. You can actually get through it with just the Mana Flux. For this reason, it's time that we showcase the power that you can use with a God Pot and a Mana Flux. Now, originally, if we wanted to kill any of the mobs around here, we would actually equip our Black Cat so we had some speed to actually allow us to kill the enemies here. However, with a God Pot, we are speed. I've been waiting so long for this, finally. Yes. Oh my goodness, our speed. I really wish I could have shown the stats beforehand, but just let it be known, our stats just went up exponentially. I'm not even sure if you noticed it, but it actually cut like the amount of kills that we needed on Enderman to spawn our Slayer. Bro, if we actually equipped our maxed E-Man pet that actually gives us the buff that allows us to basically like give us more combat XP against Enderman, it would actually be even more of a decrease. Look at that. Oh my goodness, it cut like the entire cost almost in half. And of course, if you have the Mystic E-Man, it's also just free money because you get just a bunch of summon eyes. And I don't really gamble dragons, so we're just gonna sell that. And I do not want it to spawn, not with these people, no. As much as I wish that we can slay it in that spot, our main goal is to guarantee that we can do it with this setup by ourselves. And if we do it in there, we're just not going to be able to do it by ourselves, because everybody wants to kill steel. Look at our speed, bro. Even when we're crouching. That's also another thing I wanted to mention. When you're actually crouching, you actually are crouching pretty slow without a God Pot. But with the God Pot, you can actually crouch a little bit faster. Now you might be curious, why do I want to crouch faster? Because the ability only activates when you're sneaking. And you want to make sure that when you're sneaking, you're getting yourself a good distance away from the Slayer. Having the God Pot makes it so that way you can punch the Slayer while also keeping a good distance away from them. It's just a good combo. And speaking of combos, it's time to do one on the Slayer. There we go. The Auto Pets has activated the right E-Man. Also, the God Pot also gives us a good amount of like health related benefits. So this should just help out immensely with the tier 2. Oh yeah, and we can back up really well. Honestly, to the point where we might not even need to use a healing wand. Oh my god. Let's see. Let's not use the healing wand for a bit. Not lag, not lag. Okay, this is also why you don't want dragon lobbies, because if you were using a dragon lobby, it would be even more laggy. Now the main goal is to actually like make sure that for every single time you place down the Mana Flux, by the time it ends, you will actually reach the hits phase, so that we can gain some distance on them. And also you gotta learn when they're gonna TP, because they always TP after like the first 2 seconds. They just go straight to you. Just as long as you don't keep them on your back, you should be able to clear them very, very easily. Oh my god. That one was even faster, I think. There we go. Alright, watch out for the whiskers now. I mean the E-Man heads. I call them whiskers, don't ask me why. But for every single time that he places down the whiskers, you basically want to position his body to where you can face the whiskers, while also getting hits on him. Oh, we're about to do it, bro. Bro, absolutely annihilated, and that was done with the mana flux. And we really weren't even losing that much mana. I'm telling you right now, if you want to do the tier 3 with this setup, then you're absolutely going to need the God Pot. All things considered, even though my Enderman pet isn't really the highest level for a tier 3, the God Pod makes it so it really doesn't matter. I actually want to try doing a tier 3 down here though. I really hope I can. My god, it's actually still bad in here. What the fuck? Everybody always wants to help out. It's like, bro, that's not what I'm trying to do. Nerd. Oh my the amount of times that you try to like show that you can do things by yourself. And then the world's just like, oh, I could help. They always help when you don't want them to help. And then when you need the help, they're nowhere to be found. Goodness, it sucks that we need to be all the way up here to actually like do our own boss fights by ourselves, but you know, you get what you expect, I guess. Alright, get the whiskers out of there. And was that a summon eye? Bro. I think that's a good place to end that off, man. With all that being said, I think that should conclude the tier 3 tutorial. After going through everything, I can confidently say that you will be ready. For the daring adventurers that dare use the mana flux with this setup, you have my best wishes. Going forward, you will be having to spend a lot more money, you'll be having to do a lot more grinding, but you have reached the point where it's necessary. At that point, it's just a determination of the type of player that you are. Are you somebody that can get things done with a very, very cheap setup? Or will you have to put the nail in the coffin and go the extra budget way? I will say going forward, you will eventually have to break the bank to guarantee victory for a tier 4. However, that's for another video. But above all everything else, make sure you have a God Pod active. Thank you for making it this far into this video. I really hope that I guided you well, and may you be able to do the tier 3 Voidgloom on your own. And if you have been able to do it because of this video, be sure to come back and tell me that you have succeeded. Stay tuned, as for the next guide, I will show you how to dominate the king of all the Voidglooms, the tier 4. And until the next video, bye-bye. One thing I actually want to emphasize now as well. If you have Rev Slayer 7 and Flend Slayer 7 right now, it's definitely a must-have for tier 3s anyways, but it's absolutely going to be an essential for tier 4s. So, yeah, if you already have it at this point, good for you. You get a cookie. But not a booster cookie though. That's not cheap, alright? Those are going to be like 15 mil by next month. Just you wait.